Definitely. Hello, everybody, and welcome to our lovely Gina London LinkedIn Live. And we are live on Twitter as well, across on YouTube also. So, Gina, we're going to talk today about the Christmas holidays and Thanksgiving and all of the holidays that can come up.
Really, I had no idea. I just would always wear this. This was just not planned at all.
And then
Hi,
I was so
hi
jealous.
everyone.
I couldn't find mine. I was like, oh, where's my Santa hat? Oh, but sure.
Oh, I have plenty. I actually had. I didn't wear the one. I have a turkey hat, but it's battery operated. The turkey legs start to jump, but I decided that was a little too much.
I know you love Christmas. I love
Next year,
Christmas. Yeah, yeah, we love the holiday season. But for a lot of people, it can be a difficult time. So
yes.
I suppose, there can be things like, for example, anyone who's watching, there might be things where you'd be invited to something and you don't really want to go. Like, how do you decline an invite
Yeah.
with grace? Like, so talk to us a little bit about the holiday season and what you found from working with your clients.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I feel almost that I'm less serious with this hat on, but I'm going to speak seriously for a moment. It's important, like in any communications, to think of the other people. And by
Mm,
the way, thinking of other people is not woke, it's thoughtful. And I want to make sure that we have that right mindset. Thanks for the hat comment. But I do want to remind all of us the most important thing about communications is mindset. Focusing on who else is going to be at the event and not just how we feel is going to be a game changer for how we interact, how we connect, and how we ultimately have positive outcomes in any event.
mm,
And that's a hard thing for a lot of people because, of course, human nature, we're wired to think, I feel this way. I think this way. I like this event. I don't like this event. I like those people. Don't like those people. I. And when you flip that paradigm to think about who's going to be there, who can I uplift, who can I ask more questions about than I share about myself, and that takes focus and it takes a little bit of preparation. So that would be the first thing, like in any communication event, preparation and thinking of your audience
mm.
is always the first step.
So let's say it's your family, Gina.
Right.
Thinking of your audience, because sometimes it can be a difficult time with families. Most people, it's all about family and
Of
getting
course. You pick
together.
your friends, you don't pick your family.
Yeah, yeah. So,
People joke
so
about in the workplace, oh, we're like a family. No, you're not, because if things aren't really going well in the workplace, you can potentially leave or be asked to leave that role. But I mean, it's not the same as family. In fact, even before I came on this call, I was talking to a good buddy of mine in the US who
yeah.
was getting ready to go, he and his partner, up to his sister's house for Thanksgiving. And he's dreading the whole event. So I'm not going to say his name. I don't want to get him in trouble. But he was not looking forward to it. He's already thinking about all the different negative things. And I said, and this is where mindset, I mean, he's predetermining the outcome before he ever even get on the plane, right? So if you are going to go to Aunt Gertrude's house and you know Uncle Fred is completely opposite you politically or is not kind in situations where you guys don't get along. This is just like if you're preparing for a sales call in the business world, you have to identify your objections and plan a solution. If you are going there, oh, I'm going to hate this, how can you avoid the topic? What are things that you're going to say to maybe in humor bring it around somewhere else, or politely step out of the situation? First of all, the number one thing I'm going to encourage all of us is don't overdrink.
Yeah.
Sam, you are how many years sober now?
16, 16.
So you see how people's personalities change when there's an overindulgence of alcohol. And one thing too is you can't control somebody else, but you can control yourself. So so at the very minimum, Have that glass of sparkling water or that water in between. So pace yourself, because it's a lot easier to get triggered by Uncle Fred when your defenses are softer because you've overindulged. When you have planned, first of all, prepare. What are some of the things you're going to say or do to get out of those situations? How can you answer with this humor or don't take the bait? Those kinds of things are important to prepare yourself for if you are going to that event. If you're not going to go to that event, then this is where you need to plan in advance of how can you gracefully say no.
Mm.
Not every time that my buddy has to go up to Minnesota to hang out with his sister does everybody have to go. So if you're getting invited to something and you're angsting because you don't want to accept that invitation and there's no familial obligation to do it, then politely decline. Thank you so much for the invitation. We can't attend this year. And by the way, you don't need to say why.
Okay, that was what I was going to ask you. Okay,
You do
so
not need to fake. You do not need to fake. I've got another appointment or I've got another whatever. You simply do not have to. But you thank you for the invitation. Unfortunately, we aren't going to be able to attend this year.
so people should write that down actually.
Yes.
Say that again, Gina. Just say it one more time.
Well, first you acknowledge. So thank you for the invitation. Unfortunately, we are unable to attend this year. Now that's a softer approach, I think, than saying, I don't want to attend, or I'm never going to go to your house, or Uncle Fred is horrible and I can't be in the same room with him. I mean, you don't have to leak all those things you might be thinking. And you also don't have to make it up. Little Susie has come down with the flu, and then little Susie's posting over on TikTok about what else she's doing and how healthy she is, and the whole family sees that little Susie is actually quite well. I mean, you can't say to little Susie, hey, you have to pretend to have the flu for the next 5 days because we've given you as the excuse. I mean, think about the things, the gymnastics people do in the workplace, and especially in a family situation, to avoid having a conversation that is probably less loaded than we make it in our heads. For example, my buddy, who I won't name, he and his partner, this type of stuff is fascinating to me. He and his partner are going to his sister's house for the week for Thanksgiving, right? And it's the first time he's bringing her to the family. He's a second timer. They're long divorced. They're in relatively, I don't know, 3-year relationship or something, but she's never come to meet the family. So interestingly, he says to me, as they're getting on the plane today, I don't know if we're sleeping in the same room or where we're sleeping or what. And I said, hold on. Why are you not asking that question of your sister? Why do we put so much in our heads that if we just were direct, we could alleviate that scenario angsting that we go through? Why do we do that? So I said, I said, Bill, I almost said his name. I said, it is absolutely polite and within your friendship, family, you're entitled to say, hey, want to know if I need to pack a sleeping bag or an extra pillow? Where are you putting us up?
Yeah.
That's not like, hey, are we sleeping in separate rooms? Or hey, do you have me on a couch? And you don't have to. We overthink in a defensive way, and then we tend to overshoot the simplicity of what can just be a direct question. Hey, where are you putting us up? Hey, where are we sleeping? Should I bring a sleeping bag? That's a softer, like a little bit of a humor kind of thing, because it's absolutely fair to say, oh, you're staying in the kids' room. Are there bunk beds? Hey, you're staying in the guest room. Most people, if you don't have a dynamic of straightforward conversation with your family, this is going to be harder in your mind. But if you just probably write it out would be my recommendation. So when you get on that phone, assuming it's not a video call, you can simply say, hey, Sam, looking forward to Thanksgiving with you. we don't need to know if it's on a scale from 1 to 10, it's over on a 1, but you can still be polite. Looking forward to Thanksgiving with you. Where are you putting up myself and my beau, my girlfriend? Because I want to know if I need to bring a sleeping bag. That's a funny line. Obviously, he's probably not going to bring a sleeping bag, and they know that, but it's just, that's a softer way.
Yeah.
But how interesting to think, human nature, we make a million excuses for why we don't want to have that conversation, whatever that conversation is. When if we would just have it, we'd get over that hurdle, we'd eliminate the mental gymnastics that we're doing in our brain, anticipating all the different scenarios. And my experience is that it is never as bad or possibly as good as we think it. But the key is do the action. Don't stay in your head.
Brilliant advice. And by the way, anyone who's watching, we have 73 people tuned in. So welcome, everybody. If you have a question, please put it in the comments and we will bring it up on the screen. Or if you don't want me to put it up on the screen, just DM me. But definitely, there's another aspect as well that I only learned recently. And I told you about this, that, people, if someone gives me a gift, sometimes I go, oh my God, you shouldn't have spent too much on that. And, how do you, I've started to accept with grace now and say, thank you so much. That was so thoughtful of you or whatever. So how do you handle someone giving you a gift and you're not too happy with the gift?
Well, okay, you've made, that's a double question. It's a double barrel. That's okay. We're going to unpack it. We're going to, like a present, we're going to unpack it. So first of all, let's briefly talk. We're going to talk about the gifts that you don't care for, which graciousness requires us to say, thank you. That's very kind. That's all you need to say. That's that. Now let's go back into, you didn't bring a gift and someone brought a gift, or you gave a gift and they didn't give you a gift. All this giving and exchanging things that happen. First of all, give from your heart, right? Give from your heart. So if you want to give a gift, I have this lovely, lovely friend whose husband passed recently, and she is making hampers right now, unbeknownst to the caregivers in the palliative care and in the hospital where her husband spent his last few weeks. She's going there with these hampers. Now, these people are going to be taken aback, and they're going to feel like certainly none of them asked for this, but it's the season of giving and receiving gifts. It's going to do her so much good in her emotional state to give these gifts, and it's going to be touching to them. They're going to be overwhelmed, and your honest emotions say, oh my gosh, you shouldn't have. I think that's fine, because that's an honest feeling. If you start then feeling super guilty and emoting that, oh, I need to get you, oh, you shouldn't have, oh, this, if you go over with that, then you're not giving value to the giver. Okay, so be a gracious receiver is fine to say, oh, thank you, you shouldn't have, or oh, thank you, I wasn't expecting that, or simply just, oh, thank you. All of those are okay, because I don't want to be overly prescriptive about saying, oh, you can't say, you shouldn't have. I think that's a very honest feeling when you're unexpecting of something. And it is difficult to be a gracious receiver. And yet we don't want to do disservice to someone's heart who's made a choice to give you something.
Yes.
You can decide on the backside. You don't need to share everything. Communications, being intentional and thoughtful about it, doesn't mean you over communicate. It means you judiciously communicate, right? So what that means is, if you say, oh, you shouldn't have, and then you spend the next 10 minutes talking to that person about what you would like to get them, or you think you're going to get them, or how you're going to make it even, or how you're going to, now you've just undervalued the exchange of that gift that person gave you. So if you're thinking on the back end, I'm going to circle back and send them a hamper. I'm going to circle back and send them a nicely, thoughtfully written, handwritten thank you note. Do it. Don't oversay it. So that's my first thing. I think it's absolutely fine to feel, oh gosh, I didn't know Sam was going to send me a present. I'd love to send her one too. Fine. Do it. You don't need to overkill her with it while she's enjoying giving you the present. That's one. Two, you open that present and it's the 25th pair of socks that you've gotten. And you're like, oh, don't show it with your face and don't say it with your mouth. There's no situation. I mean, unless I bought you a bottle of booze, Sam, I mean, that would be really off-putting. But I mean, if someone is giving you a gift, then thank them for the gift.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. That's very kind. Done. Done. Don't make your face go crinkly like, wow, if you'd have thought for 5 minutes. I spent 2 weeks thinking about your present, or I got your present back in November. Nobody needs to know all of that. You're not giving the present for the recognition, right? If you're doing something to get the stroke, then that's not from your heart. That's from your ego. And likewise, if you're trying to play the equal or better game with someone, like, oh, my gift looks like it costs 50 euros and your gift, or $50, and your gift looks like it costs a $5, that is not where we need to be coming from in this season of giving.
Yeah.
And it's hard sometimes if you're that really thoughtful, hey, do you have all your holiday shopping done? Yeah, I got it done in September person, versus, oh, yeah, I have Amazon Prime and I clicked everything 2 days before. It's not a competition, and different people have different organizational styles, and we can't make other people meet or exceed or whatever our expectations. So first of all, lower your expectations for the holidays, folks. Live in the moment. Do not live in the scenario of what you expect it to be. Like, I'm having 20 people over for Christmas. If I start to go, well, drinks are at this time and appetizers are this time, and then we're all going to play this game and everyone's going to love it to this degree, and then we're going to have this level of games afterwards, and like, that's way too formulaic, and I'm bound to be disappointed. Breathe and enjoy the chaos. I said to my friend going to Minnesota, just be in the moment. What are you packing? Is there something thoughtful that you can get for her kids, or something not so thoughtful you can get at the airport on the way to see her kids? His partners bring in a game. Fabulous. Keep it real, keep it low key. You don't have to make the most extravagant dinner or dessert if you're going to somebody's house, or you don't have to be Martha Stewart. You can buy the ready-made roasties. I don't know what there is. You can buy.
I buy ready-made stuffing and turkey. And
so what? I like to do that stuff, but that's because I like to do that stuff. But I also know where I'm going to simplify things so that it's easier for me, and it's not like I don't want to have my stress leak out to everybody else.
Yeah.
That's a big holiday no. Reduce the stress. And also, don't forget, people are going through different emotions in their heads at any particular time. As I mentioned, I just saw that friend of mine whose husband just passed. It's the first Christmas without him and her little children. And people feel very lonely. You know, the statistics around depression during the holidays, it goes way up. So being kind, being thoughtful. I would rather have, like, my daughter and I, we make Christmas cookies every year because, you know, even though we live in Ireland where it's not such a thing, it's a very American tradition. We make little plates of them and we hand them out to our neighbors because we want to. And it's a low cost little gesture. And so little things, I think, still are meaningful. I still think that if you handwrite a card, I know nobody sends cards anymore, but yet if you get that handwritten card, it means something. These little gestures are lovely. And I don't think we need to spend $1 million or €1 million to have that impact when it comes to that. I don't think we need to have perfect picture painting style of traditions, be it Thanksgiving, be it Hanukkah, be it Kwanzaa, being Christmas, whatever your family celebration is. The small moments are really what make it special. And yeah.
And just for the office parties, there's a lot of Christmas parties coming up. Okay, so there are a lot of Christmas parties coming up. So I know for me, as someone who doesn't drink, and I might give a little tip afterwards
Please.
about, if someone is coming to your house and they don't drink, or they're the first Christmas sober, I often give tips about that.
Please.
I
Yeah,
suppose.
please, Sam, jump in. I think that's really important. I would say as a hostess, always have alternative beverages.
Exactly.
Always have the sparkling water, have the lovely cordials, have something that takes that pressure off of that person that, like you said, for whatever reason.
Yeah, they
might
might
not wanna-
decide they just don't want they're driving or something. So it's nice to have
Of
the,
course.
the alternative, but also not to make a big deal out of it
Oh my gosh,
is
yeah.
the best thing ever. And I always often say, look, the less of a deal you make of it, you don't have to hide all the booze. Like, the less of a deal you make of it, the better. And then, for the person who is in recovery, that is their first their first Christmas just not drinking, go out for a walk after dinner, or suggest like going out for a walk or doing something beside, and meet up with other people who maybe aren't drinking, so that's just my little tip there
That's really helpful, Sam. And again, I think that people, we need to plan for our situations. And if you're thinking, oh, I'm going to go to my first family gathering and I'm not drinking this time, and there's going to be that one Uncle Fred who says, oh, come
Poor
on,
Uncle Fred.
come on, just this one. There are those
It's Christmas.
context, the Mrs. Doyle's out there. Go on, go on, go on. And if you don't get the reference, folks, watch Father Ted. It's well worth it. I didn't know about it till I moved here, but it's a great series. Father Ted, Mrs. Doyle. She would never take no for an answer when it comes to tea. But it's the same thing in a holiday setting. People are really pressuring a lot of other people to join in the holiday spirit and graciously say no. And then if you need to extract yourself, say, you know what, I'm also on a regimen and I'm going to go do a little walk now. You don't have to be a jerk about it, and they don't have to be a jerk either. But again, you can't control them.
Mm-hmm.
So if Uncle Fred starts to put on the pressure, keep the smile while you're pushing your thumb in your palm to deflect the frustration you might feel in your face. This is a great control mechanism, folks. If you've not seen this yet, you take your thumb in your palm and you can turn that right around and be invisible. And then with the calmest voice ever, say, thanks, Uncle Fred. No, thanks. And you know what? I'm actually going to take a quick little walk to get some fresh air and cool off from you, but don't say that part. But these proactive tips, and then practicing them out loud, keeping you in the space of self-control. In a workplace environment, there is often a tendency to stay out too late. I'd encourage you not to be the last person that comes home. I'd encourage you to keep your wits about you. There is going to be the next day after the holiday party. And as much as we like to think that, the holiday party is its own thing, if you're in a big organization or a small organization and you're seeing those same colleagues the next day, your reputation does not take a holiday.
Yeah.
And so you can overcome a mistake. I'm not saying that none of us will make mistakes during any time of the year, not just the holidays, but in particular, if you know you're prone to these things, or you know your behavior, take precautions. Pre-book the taxi at 11 instead of 1.
Mm-hmm.
Take some actions. Have a partner, have a wing buddy who you can rely on.
Yeah.
Actually,
there's a good one that I actually noticed.
Preparation. Yes, ma'am.
I noticed like I would often slip away from events. Like once the second, third drink comes around, it starts getting a little bit different and you're hearing the same thing being said again. That's when I know, okay, it's time to go now. Do you know they never notice that I've gone? They'd be like, what time did you go at? They don't notice.
It's a funny thing because in an American context, we wouldn't typically do the Irish goodbye, which is to slip away. And yet you're right. In a busy party, if it's in a home or if it's in an office, it's probably smarter to leave.
Well, I'd say to the host,
don't worry about it to get out. typically I would say, if you're still in control, go and say to the hostess, thank you so much, or the host, thank you so
I
much.
would say it to the host, but then
And then,
everybody else.
and then, yeah, you don't need to be saying 1,000 goodbye. It's not a receiving line about you.
Yeah. Yeah.
You can make your goodbye very quickly too, and you don't have to apologize. Thank you so much. It was a lovely time. You do not have to add, I've got another event. Like, that is not your problem.
Mm-hmm.
We tend to overshoot the finish line on a lot of our speaking. Learning the power of the pause. Thanks so much. It was a wonderful evening. And I'm leaving now. It was great. Thank you so much. You're putting on your coat. You don't even probably need to say you're leaving, because they go, oh, you're leaving? Yes, thank you so much. That's different than, oh, but I have to go, or I got to get up early. If you have to say that, fine, but you actually are not required to give an excuse. Thank you so much for your invitation. I can't attend this year. Thank you so much for the party, and now I need to go. Go. Less is more. Yes, thank you. Less is more. And it's very hard for us often when we are afraid of a silence, or we feel like we need to keep filling that space with niceties, but it ends up watering down our own control. So thank you so much. It was a lovely evening. Coat, goodbye.
I love this topic. Handle the holiday season with grace. Any other tips? And if anyone has a question, please do throw it into the comments, and I'll ask Gina. But any other situation that you've come across that people struggle with?
I think the question a lot of times around, what are you doing for the holidays? If you're someone who isn't, like, I've been an expat for years. I don't have extended family that I'm near. And I remember the first year, for example, that I wasn't hosting a big event and I wasn't invited to anything. And it was really just my daughter and me, sort of. And that feeling of, how do you just own that and be comfortable in that? I think on one hand, when you're the person who's really having a big festivity, be aware of the singles or the loners or the expats or the elderly or what. I mean, I think an invitation to them is always, you never know. They can say, oh, no, I'm fine. Or no, thank you so much. I've got other plans. Or, oh, no, I'm going to sit this one out. All those things are absolutely fine. If you have the ability and you're okay with it, invite. Like I said, we have 20 people coming over, and it's all made up of families who don't have extended families, young couples who are here on their own, another single mom and her daughter, who's my daughter's age. It's a group of wonderful people who otherwise would be having smaller holidays, and now we're having a bigger celebration. If you aren't invited and you were hoping that you were, I think it's also okay to ask and be ready to have that, oh, I'm so sorry, we have a full house this year. But I think rather than sitting alone waiting for someone to ask, you also have the ability to say, hey, I wonder if you've got room for one more or two more at your table. They might go, oh my gosh, we didn't know. We'd love to have you. Be prepared if they say, oh, I can't. And then also be prepared to be nice to yourself. So Christmas or whatever holiday, but in particular Christmas, because, I mean, look at me with the hat. I mean, and Hanukkah, of course, is more days. But when you are alone on a particular holiday, you didn't get invited to the dance, you didn't get invited to the Christmas party, whatever it is, please know, keep it in perspective. It is one day and it will pass. Watch a movie that you've always wanted. Treat yourself how you would make it special for you, or make it not special at all, and go out for that walk. Do something to occupy your mind. Don't let yourself over festival it, if that makes sense. I mean,
don't be influenced by social media and
yeah, well, and you might need to turn out for that day. I mean, look, I'll take the hat off, so we're not over running into the whole. The life is full of events that we don't get invited to. The whole FOMO thing. there'll be other holidays.
Yeah.
There'll be other Tuesdays that feel great when Saturday didn't, right? Not everything is going to live up to our expectation,
Mhm.
and that's okay. To be able to learn to sit in silence, to be able to deal with disappointment, that's a evolution. That's an ongoing learning thing that it's hard. So for those of you who find yourself in that situation, take heart that you're not alone in your loneliness. There are lots of people that aren't doing things on a particular any given day. For
Well,
those of you who,
actually,
yeah, and for those of you who do have an abundance, if there's someone even down your street or someone that you, we have a lovely couple, by the way. Not that I'm so fabulous, but I am in tune to that. Those people that don't have others around them.
mm,
I met a young couple back in March walking their dog. They have a mini schnauzer like I do, and we got to talking because of course the two dogs were sniffing each other and doing what dogs do. And we just got to talking, and I said, "Oh, they just moved here from Florida. Oh, and they were lovely." And yes, I didn't invite them until after I linked them up, looked over them on LinkedIn, and I mean, I didn't just introduce random people as I was accused of by my lovely neighbors and my daughter, but I did invite them to our Easter dinner,
mm,
then later on that month, and they had a great time. And otherwise, it would have just been the two of them and their dog in
yeah.
their apartment. And now they're coming to Christmas as well.
Mm,
You never know who is an arm length away from you who could use a little TLC.
mm,
If it's a small gift, you don't have to spend a lot of money. I have little pencil kits that I give to some people. I have little tiny Christmas ornaments that I give. Sets of candles are a nice little gift. It doesn't always have to be that bottle of wine, by
mm.
the way, back to Sam's point. There are so many lovely
Snow globes,
small
snow
things
globes.
you can do.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Back to the point, less is more.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, I'm just looking at the time here, so I just want to be aware of the time of this. So just before we wrap up, just I know that there might be people as well that that they have a huge fear around. There's so many Christmas parties. Which ones do I say yes to? Which ones
Right.
do I say no to? So how do you decide, or what do you do there in that situation when there might be several different invitations to business Christmas parties? I mean.
Right. I actually just had to say no this morning to a Christmas invitation that probably cool factor would have been a better one to go to. This is no one listening a lot. I think you should be honoring your commitments. I'd
Mm,
already said yes. Thanks, Neil. I'd already said yes to one. Then I was asked to a different one and they completely conflict.
uh,
And I will admit that I had that dilemma of could I, would I, how can I get it? And
yeah.
then I made the decision. No, I've already said yes to the host of this one. So I'm going to now write to the host of this one and say, thank you so much for your invitation. I'm double booked. So
Mm,
being honest. And I think that's something that you have to make a decision. Now, to be perfectly honest, if you, everything's situational.
mm,
If you get invited to, I don't know, this big networking event that is really going to make a difference for you, and you didn't think you were going to get it, and you already said yes to your good friend Sam, I think you probably owe it to Sam to be as transparent as you can and go, Sam, I love you madly, and I wanted to go, but I just got this. Sam might be a little frustrated, but hopefully you've got, I mean, if it's just was going to be dinner with you and Sam, then I think you probably need to go honor it with Sam. But have the conversation,
yeah.
folks. I think you're going to avoid so much conflict if you have the conversation up front than if you don't
Mm,
and someone finds out, right? I mean,
yeah.
you don't want to do that. Like Sam's, like it turns out I say no to Sam, and the fancy networking thing is at the same restaurant that Sam picked. Then I gotta do, Mrs. Doubtfire and go like this into the other room.
Yeah.
I mean, try to think about the other people. Try
Mm,
to understand if it's going to be an occasion where you can beg off if this is something super aspirational or that you didn't know you merited an invite and now you do, and those kind of things. And do also see, can you go for an hour to Sam's, and is it close enough then to go for the hour of the other time? I mean, can you split the difference? There is some give and take and compromise during this season, which I also think is really important, to give yourself a breath. If you start to get overwhelmed, then you probably need to go home early. You probably need to skip something. You don't have to be everywhere.
Yeah.
Because there is certainly a burnout of the Christmas or the holiday chaos and all of the obligations. So do feel comfortable saying no. Do plan in advance for the objections that you're going to want to overcome. Do be gracious, but also no less is more. You don't have to over trim the tree when it comes to these things.
Yeah,
and lean into your friends. If you've got something that's giving you a little anxiety, talk about it.
Absolutely. And I know just one thing that I did one year with my husband, was just myself and my husband, and we decided, so first of all, for anyone who is in recovery, there is usually a meeting on Christmas morning. And then there's one in the evening as well. So even if you need to get away either end of the day, then you can do that. But we actually volunteered at the homeless center, and we did so because we were like, well, we do in between, like, and we actually did that, and it was great, and we got a free Christmas dinner ourselves. So it was great. I didn't have to cook at all. So it was really nice.
That feeling to see everyone that was in a more difficult spot than you were.
Yeah. That was lovely. And I have to say,
Sam, that's a great story.
My family were like, what? You're doing what? I was like, well, look, we decided, sure, what's the point in making a big dinner just for two of us? I said, let's go and do something useful. So
I think that is wonderful. And just because I am actually genuinely curious, do you need to sign up for that a week in advance, or how much notice did you need to give them? I think that's important.
They asked for volunteers, and I just put my name down and just turned up then, and I had a few little gifts as well. And then there was some things that needed to be delivered. So some of them were down where we live. So we brought them instead of the other guy having to go down. So yeah, we just delivered them. So it was just nice, and it made me feel so good. See, don't underestimate. It's like giving a gift. It's actually making us feel so good, giving you that gift, so that we feel like it actually helps me. It helped me, you know.
There's a byproduct to giving. It doesn't have to be completely altruistic, and there's nothing wrong with that. When you give, the act of giving gives something back to you, which is why it's important to give from the heart and also to receive from the heart, so that you don't undermine the giver, and that you also don't put too much pressure on yourself as the giver as well. Wonderful. And the best thing you can give during this season is time.
Yep. And don't underestimate the power of being a babysitter for people as well. Because I remember when I was younger, New Year's Eve was one time you could never get a babysitter. And I often become the babysitter on New Year's Eve for whatever, because it doesn't interest me New Year's Eve. So just, little things like that can help people out. But these are great tips, Gina. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome. I think for anyone, the key is to know yourself. Prepare for situations that you think are going to be uncomfortable. Get out of your head. Get into a conversation with that person or people. Get it out. The sooner you get it out, then at least you can wait for the response, as opposed to having it here in your head and just having it take a life of its own. And then be in the small moments. Don't try to have everything be some picture perfect postcard, because that's rarely the case. And be forgiving and be kind.
Yeah.
I mean, we'll get through it. January 2nd is going to take place. And hopefully you're going to have some really good memories, as opposed to a lot of, I don't know, anger and frustration and disappointment. Like, why bother? Life is short, man. Make it simple, make it calm, make it festive as much as you want. Like, I'm unapologetic about my goofiness with Christmas, but it's not a high-end goofy. It's a few little sparkles, and I like to light a candle, and I put on the goofy hat, and that's plenty for me.
Yeah. And could I just ask a quick one? What was the best, simplest gift that you ever received? Do you mind me asking? I know this wasn't planned, but
we didn't.
What was the simplest, nicest little gift that you ever received?
I think picture books for me. Like
Mm.
I had my daughter put together a little album, a little scrapbook. Like she'd printed out a few little pictures and she'd drawn some little things. That meant a lot to me. And of course, as a parent, those silly little handmade gifts are darling. And I think cheaply, by the way, the salt and flour ornaments. If you don't know the recipe, go look it up. It's super easy. And you can pop a little hole with a chopstick or a toothpick in there. And you've got these, you can do little handprints or fingerprints or paw prints, and you can paint them if you want. Supremely easy and a great afternoon craft thing when the kids are home from school and you don't know what to do. But the idea that the, I don't know, Louis Vuitton handbag is going to be your most memorable gift. I think 90% of the people that I know, it's like the little paper mache, little random animal that my daughter made for me one year that still is in a position of value in my home, because those are the treasures that you can't get anywhere else. So it's
And
not about money, it's about heart.
I got a lovely little wooden thing of a lady who came to my conference, and it said "Seasons Tweetings," and I had little Robin on it. I love it. I
Well,
love
because
it. It's
it was
already up.
special for you. It was
Yeah,
special for you.
exactly. Well, thank you so much, Gina. Thank you, everybody who joined us. And don't forget, if you want to learn more tips like this from Gina, go to languageofleadership.org. She has a great online course if you want to improve your communication skills in 2025. And as you can see, she has a great sense of humor as well. So thank you so much, Gina London. And thank you, everybody, Maria, Neil, everybody who commented. Thank you. And have a great holiday season.